Welcome to RE Radar. If you have not had the pleasure of joining us for a previous episode, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Nathan Matheson, and I'm your host and realtor. And what we are all about here on the radar is simply education. Real estate is a very complex field, lots of different moving parts, lots of different fields involved in a real estate transaction. And what I want to do here on the radar is to help alleviate the stress that you might feel and be that go-to source for you if you have any questions on real estate, if you're interested in real estate, if you just want to get into it or learn a little more. This is what RE Radar is for. It's for simply education. So if you do have any questions, or if you ever have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments and I'll be happy to answer them one-on-one for you. Or if it's a good enough question, I might just make a whole podcast episode about it. So if you do, give those questions to me. But for now, it's time to jump right into this episode. And what this episode is going to be is going over the pros and cons of townhomes, condos, and single family homes. What separates those three? Which one is best for you? Now, first, we're going to dive right into single family homes, the ones that kind of are thought of as the standard prototypical home. When people think of a home, this is what they think of. What it is a single family home is a detached structure. So it stands alone on its own lot of land. There's no sharing walls with neighbors, like in a condo or in a townhome, you could do that. It's also not just your house, but it's also your land. So this type of home, it gives you full control over the property in its entirety, inside and out. And you're also then responsible for everything from the roof over your head to the lawn in your front yard. So if you want to build a deck, yeah, go ahead and build that deck. But if you need to replace that roof, it's all on you as well. So the great part about that is you have the complete autonomy and control over your own space. However, of course, if you have an HOA, that might not be true, but we're not going to get into that. That's a little too complex right now. This is mostly just speaking on single family homes as a basis. If you want to learn more about HOAs, I've discussed that before on the podcast. That's always a big topic. Now, getting into some pros and cons of a single family home, we're talking about no HOA. So first up for the pros, you've got simply more privacy in most cases. This is going to be a standalone home. You're not sharing walls with anyone. Often they're going to come with a yard, which gets right into the second pro of just having more space. A single family home typically is on a larger lot, so it's going to allow you to be farther away from your neighbors potentially. You might have a fence you can build so you can block out your neighbors completely. You could have trees, bushes, you can do it as you want and live as private as you want in certain situations. And then, of course, single family also brings you the best ownership in terms of you don't just own that home like a condo. You also own the land that you're on. So you can really have and do with as you please in terms of you can add that DADU, that detached additional dwelling unit in the backyard to create rental income or to sell it off or to have your mother-in-law stay there. Whatever it may be, you own that whole land that your home's on and can do with it as you please, which is a major pro. Now, of course, single family home ownership, it's not just daisies and buttercups. There's some speed bumps and there's some cons that can be had with having a single family home, and that's the higher cost. They're going to be more expensive than condos or townhomes in the same neighborhood. If it's a single family home, it's higher price. It's just what it is. And I'm not just talking about higher priced in terms of the purchase price, but also the maintenance cost, the ongoing maintenance of owning that single family home, because it's all you, the landscape. And remember that yard, that big space you have, well, you have to maintain it. The roofing, you have to deal with that. The plumbing, it's all on you. And if anything else breaks, it's on you to take care of. You're going to have to either do it yourself, handyman style, or, hire someone out of pocket to take care of it. And tying right into that in terms of taking care of the whole place yourself and having to deal with it is the time and responsibility that it will take you to manage this single family home by yourself. Whether that be outsourcing by hiring different landscapers or different types of workers like that, or it is the more time in terms of you taking care of the work. Either way, it's more time and more responsibility that you will have to spend focusing on this home. So just wrapping up the single family home, it's kind of a great classic American dream home. If that's what you want, if that's what you really want to live, then by all means, a single family home is probably your best bet for that, with privacy, space, and freedom to personalize your property. But of course, it comes with those cons. You have to be ready for that in terms of more expensive in terms of management is more expensive and more hands-on or more responsibility in terms of getting people hired to work on these things. So if you're not up to that more responsibility, then maybe a single family isn't your bet. Maybe you want a condo. So switching into condos, what that is it's the idea of home ownership. You love home ownership, you want to own, but you don't kind of want the hassle of the constant upkeep of this huge space all to yourself. So the perfect solution for that is that condo, right? Because what a condo is it's going to be, and we're talking about a traditional condo here, and it's going to be a unit inside a larger building or a complex. You know, you own that individual unit, but you don't own the land that it sits on. You don't own that whole complex, of course. It's like owning an apartment that you rent. So what really kind of separates a condo and sets it apart from the single family home and townhomes in some cases is that you're going to be always sharing those walls with the neighbors in most cases. You'll be sharing common areas as well with a condo. You're going to be sharing hallways. You're going to be sharing a parking lot. You're going to be sharing a lobby. And there could be amenities that a condo offers that you'll then be sharing there as well, such as a gym. Now, with condos, of course, what else comes is going to be that HOA that we've touched on, the Homeowners Association, which is going to be in charge of taking care of that common area maintenance space and could also cover other things like water, garbage, and sewer often. But what an HOA is it's going to be another fee for you to have to pay and another thing for you to have to deal with or entity. Now, in short, a condo is simply going to be perfect for people who want that ownership but don't want to have to deal with high maintenance items like roofs or issues of that type often. So just getting right into the pros and cons of what a condo can offer you is for pros, well, that low maintenance lifestyle, one that you're owning just, your small little condo inside of a major unit. You're not dealing with potential roof upkeep. You're not dealing with the yard maintenance. You're not dealing with a bunch of space such as cleaning gutters, even with home ownership. You're not dealing with that. The HOA is what's taking care of that. Of course, you're going to be paying for them to take care of that, but it's something, out of sight, out of mind almost with the condo lifestyle. Now, condos also then are generally going to be a little lower priced item than a home. It's not going to be the high ticket item that a single family home might cost. So this can be great for first time home buyers or someone looking for just a more budget friendly option, especially in those higher demand and city center areas. If you want to live there close to work, you want to walk to work, a condo is likely going to be your best option. And then another great pro with condos can be the amenities that they offer. You could get a gym in your condo, you could have a pool, you could have a concierge service. Some condos offer some great amenities, and that's always something you want to be looking at to see because, again, the HOA, what you're paying into it, those amenities are often a big chunk of that. So you want to make sure what you're paying is actually going to something that you're using and that'll be beneficial to you. Otherwise, that condo might not be the best for you because you're just going to be paying huge chunks of money for an amenity that you don't use at all. Getting into that with the cons is that HOA fee and the rules. An HOA can be, depending on what it is, they can have different rules and they can be very strict sometimes with what you can do sometimes. And sometimes that can rub people the wrong way, or that could be counterintuitive to their lifestyle. And also, just the HOA fees. Sometimes they can be very steep, like those amenities. Maybe it has a lot of amenities, this condominium complex. It's got a pool, it's got a gym, it's got a sauna, it's got a security, it's got a concierge, it's got all that. But next thing you know, your HOA monthly fee is going to be $1,800. So that's pros and cons to that HOA. They're also going to be imposing rules such as perhaps rentals. Do you want to eventually turn this place you're buying into a rental? Well, does the HOA allow rentals even? Do they have a rental capacity? Are they at it? Are they close to it? Does it allow short-term rentals, or is it only long-term 30-plus day rentals? You got to be looking into this because the HOA can be very restrictive and can cause you headaches. And now another con, since you are going to be likely sharing those walls or those common spaces, is it's going to be less privacy than a single family home that's got its own lot, that's got its own separate area. Now, just wrapping up on condos, they're great for someone who wants home ownership. They want to start building up that equity, but they don't want the hassle of a constant maintenance and having to deal with the higher responsibility of owning a single family home. HOA can take care of those exterior repairs and landscaping and leave you with more time to enjoy the things you really enjoy. Plus, they're more affordable often condos are than a single family home. And if you're looking to live near where you work in a downtown city area, then a condo is going to be a great value for you and just great convenience for you. Now, keep in mind though, with those condos, that privacy is going to be limited. There's going to be an HOA, so the fees could be high, could be restrictive, depends on the area, of course. Now, next up though, transitioning out of condos and getting into the last one, townhomes. Kind of the hybrid option between a single family home and a condo. Could lean more like a condo, could be more like a single family home. All depends on the scenario and situation for it. So, what is a townhome actually? And they can be kind of tricky in they're between a single family, but they're not always just a single family. They're kind of like a condo sometimes, but not exactly. They can share walls, they could not share walls. So it's a very tricky avenue in townhomes, but essentially they're typically going to be a multi-level structure. And if they are sharing walls, it could be, 3 in a row, maybe 4 in a row or something, side by side stacked next to each other. Kind of think of those, narrow house like a row home similar to. And townhomes then also, they could have a yard, maybe they don't have a yard. So townhomes are very, pick a few different traits and throw them in there. Some townhomes don't have parking, some townhomes do have parking. So townhomes are interesting. And of course, that then is one of those great things with a townhome, and you can get a little bit of best worlds in terms of some single family home aspects and some condo aspects. You're going to get a little more independence than kind of a condo in terms of how you share everything, but you're not going to get quite as much independence as a single family home. And there's going to likely also be an HOA, but then that HOA is going to likely be much lower than if it's a condominium complex versus a townhome complex. Getting right into those pros and cons. In talking about a townhome, comparing it to a condo, you're going to get more space. You're going to get multi-level living. A lot of time they're 3 stories. Sometimes you even get a rooftop deck. So you're going to get a little more space. You're also sometimes even going to get a little small yard. Townhomes also then are going to be a little more private than condos in terms of often it's going to be, your own entrance. You're getting your own front door. You're not going through hallways and elevators to get to your room. You've got your own separate entrance. So that's going to be a little more private. And often townhomes, depending on how the complexes are built, you can really be just close to, maybe one neighbor or 2 neighbors sometimes. Another pro for a townhome is that low HOA fee. Townhomes are part of a body that's governed by an HOA often because of the shared water, and that's simply going to be the only thing the HOA is charging you for, really, is measuring that shared water usage. So around townhomes, you can often get an HOA for maybe $30 to $100 a month, sometimes a little more, sometimes it can be even a little less. So that lower HOA is a great benefit of a townhome compared to a condo. So it's really just going to be that great compromise between a condo and between a single family home. And you can almost pick and choose which one you want to lean more towards. Do you like more condo lifestyle? Then look at townhomes that don't have a yard at all. If you do want the single family home, then look for townhomes that have a little more private space, like balconies, like yards, like patios, like that type of thing. So you can get just the best of both worlds there. Now, the cons, of course, because of course there's going to be cons. No house is perfect, right? Well, with townhomes, you're likely going to be sharing a wall or 2. If you're in a middle townhome, you could have both sides of the townhome with shared walls. So that's going to be a potential negative in case, especially if you have neighbors that make loud noise, or you might be someone, so you might get on the nerve of your neighbors. And that pro and con, that outdoor space, if you're someone who really wants that, well, in a townhome, you're not likely to get a huge yard. And it's also not going to be very private usually in terms of the other people at the townhome are going to be right there able to see it. They're not going to be able to use it, but they're going to be able to see you in it easily. Townhomes, also another con is that they're kind of a interesting appeal in terms of aesthetics, and they can be big boxes. They can be not the most aesthetic looking. And so that could be a con if you want a house that really looks beautiful. A townhome often is not going to be that beautiful home. It's also going to be, rooms can be smaller sometimes, and depending on the true size of the townhome, it can be tough to truly live in it like a normal home. You're also going to get stairs, if you don't want to have to walk upstairs every day, 5-10 times a day going up and down, I won't get a townhome. But overall, townhomes kind of can be that perfect blend of, your own space, your own privacy, and be a little more affordable than a single family home, but give you a little bit more space than a condo would offer. It's got the benefit of those lower HOA fees, and it's also got the benefit of a potential small yard or even, a parking spot. However, of course, townhomes do still have that shared walls. So if you're looking for complete privacy and you don't want to share any walls, then single family is still always going to be that best fit. So now that I've broken down those three, of course, it's going to be up to the person in terms of their lifestyle, what they like, where they're at in their life, and how much they can afford to buy, and just all these different factors. But I just kind of laid out for you guys this episode some basis summarizing what each unit is in terms of what a condo is, what a townhome is, what a single family home is. Each one's got their own perfect fit. And if you want help kind of identifying what would be best for you, feel free to reach out to me and I'm happy to talk you through it. But until then, that is all the time we got for today's episode. So if you find this episode informative, I'd greatly appreciate if you could hit that like and subscribe button. But if not, still, thank you for listening and thank you for watching. Till next time.